So welcome to the second annual Probst Guild virtual tour. And I can't thank you guys enough for joining us. For those who haven't met me, I'm James Botek. This is my wife, Karis. And over here running production is Ian. We are going to have a fast-paced hour tonight. More than likely, we will go a little bit long. You do have 4.5 bottles that we're going to be sampling tonight. The way that these events go, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with these events, we're going to start off with a blind sampling. So we're going to take the first bottle, we're going to pour a little bit of it in your glass. Don't pour the whole thing in your glass. We're going to pour maybe a ½ ounce sample in your glass, and we're going to taste that. We're going to nose it. We're going to taste it. We're going to talk about what we're tasting. We're going to quickly move over to the second bottle, do the same thing with the second bottle. Short pour, taste it. Bottle 3 and bottle 4. Keep in mind, ½ ounce pours from 4 bottles, you just hit a full drink. Once we've done that, we're going to talk about those tastes. Then we're going to bring in the distiller. We're going to introduce them. We're going to introduce the distillery, and we're going to reveal what's behind the curtain here, the towel. And then we're going to talk to that distiller. We're going to go through a quick little presentation about them, about their product, about their processes. And then we're just going to have an open Q&A session. This is a happy hour. We want to give you the opportunity to ask those questions of this distillery. Find out, anything you're questioning. That's really an open book. These guys have been extremely gracious to not only join us after they worked a full day, to provide the samples to us, but also to be that open book. So feel free to ask the questions. If you're excited about something, if you want to go a little deeper into something you heard in the presentation, whatever that is, this is for you guys. We want you to get the most out of this event and learn as much about these distilleries as you possibly can. This is just a way to introduce these to you guys. So with that being said, everyone understands how to taste, but I'm going to run through a really quick refresher just so you guys understand. So we're going to grab bottle number 1. And the first thing we're doing is we're kind of looking at the color out of that bottle. This is a very light color. When you're looking at it, it's not a dark. This is more of a gold. And when we look at color, where does the color come from? Anyone? Those of you guys who were on last night, you have the answer to this. Barrel? Barrel. The barrel. Color comes from the barrel. So a lighter color could be an indicator of a couple things. It could be an indicator that maybe they got a light char in the barrel. It could be an indicator that maybe it didn't spend as much time in the barrel. It could be that it was a used barrel. So there's a bunch of different things that could be the reason why it's a lighter color. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to nose this. We're going to give it a little bit of smell. And what are some of the notes you're picking up on this? Is it more grain? Is it woody? Is it sweet? Is it floral? What are some of those notes you guys are picking up?
Sweet. Apple.
Sweet apple.
Sweet and fruity, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely sweet.
A little bit of floral.
Smells like a scotch.
Yeah.
I get a little bit of grass.
So Scott, you're thinking, are we thinking maybe this might be a single malt? Just based off the nose there?
Could be. I mean, it's light, fruity, with a little bit of like peat kind of smokiness to it.
Just a hint, yeah, just on the edge. All right, let's take our first sip. Remember, our first sip, it's a small sip. You're going to hold that in your mouth 3 to 5 seconds, take a swallow. That's going to strip all the oils and all the stuff you ate today off your tongue. Your second sip is really where those flavors are going to come in that you're really going to use for your tasting notes here.
Wow. Malt.
So right off the top, first impressions, I heard wow.
Peach.
Peach, fruity, apples.
So it sounds like it's matching a lot what you had on the nose. So we're into some more of a balanced whiskey at this point. It's not complex. You like the body? Good mouthfeel, not too oily, not too light. It's just about right. There's a good long linger on the finish. Sticks around, it doesn't just go away.
There's a long finish, but it's not burny or hard.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree.
Hi, Amber.
Hi.
So we have 4 bottles to get through in an hour, plus the presentation, plus give you time to talk to this distiller. So I'm moving us along a little fast here. I apologize for that, but I want to get to some really special bottles. Not that this isn't special. Overall impressions on this, what do you guys think? Love it? It's good?
Nice malt.
Nice.
I like
Good
it.
drinker. Great drinker.
This is different from this distillery because I'm picking up a lot of barley.
Yeah, yeah. I will tell you guys, this is actually one of my favorite bottles from this distillery. And you're going to hear me say that a lot through this event. All right, that was bottle number 1. Now, when we look at bottle number 2 in comparison, it's a little bit darker, isn't it? Definitely a color difference between those two. And right now you guys have 1 glass. If you have more glasses in your home selection, great, get a fresh glass. If you don't, just pour a little bit of water in it and rinse it out. It's gonna take a lot, just give it a quick rinse. Drink that, cleans your palate. So bottle number 2.
Not as
Hmm?
lighter on the nose.
You say lighter.
I immediately got like campfire or leather or something like hit me the first time I smelled it.
You know, it's definitely a little heavier on like a kind of an ochre aged note compared to the last one. It doesn't have quite as burn, and some of that age probably took that burn away.
Yeah, now something we didn't talk about on the first one that
Yeah.
maybe you'll bring up on this is the proof. The first one didn't appear to be too high of a proof compared to this one. On the nose, I'm getting more alcohol vapor on this one than I got on the first one.
And toffee, like a toffee
It does have,
caramel.
Yeah. Yeah, and almost
yeah, I was almost thinking a little bit of a
Heath bar.
maple.
Yeah, like a Heath bar almost.
yeah, yeah. It's much lighter on the front end of the palate. It's very
Finish.
easy. Yeah.
Still some of the barley notes.
What's that, Jeremy?
I'm getting a lot of barley notes from it.
More than we had on the first one?
Yes, definitely.
The last one kind of seemed a little spicy to me versus this one is a little more mellow.
Mm-hmm. There was a hint of a bite, almost a rye type bite on the back end of the first one. I don't get that on this one. I do get a little bit of peppery on the front of my tongue, but nothing on the back end. It's very smooth. All right. As we're doing this, keep in mind, you guys need to maybe be writing down some of the notes. I gave you guys some of those tasting note sheets. Brooker, I see you doing your homework there already. That's a good job, bud. He's filling out his tasting notes. Feel free to do this because you're going to come back to these bottles maybe over the weekend and spend more time with them. And once we introduce what the bottle is, we'll take bottle notes and we'll get some more information on exactly what it is we're drinking here. At this point, I want you to rinse your glass or get a clean glass. We're going to go to 2 very special bottles, and I'm not going to explain why they're special. I'm not going to talk about these, the flavors or anything. I want your guys' input on these. And what I want you to do first is I want you to look at the color between bottle 3 and the color between bottle 4 and bottle 3.
Reed's aged longer, I would bet.
3's aged longer. Okay.
Or just more char maybe, but it's darker for sure, right?
Okay. We said that all the color comes from the barrel and it was either the char or length of time it was in there. What else could it be when we're talking about barrels?
finished and something else?
Like
Good.
a port,
Yeah. It could
like
be.
a
It could
port
be.
or sherry.
Absolutely, a port or sherry or something like that. So, all right, let's grab bottle 3. Give yourself a pour out of this one. What do you get on the nose before you go to drinking? What's on your nose on this one?
Caramel.
That's what I was gonna say, caramel.
Much lighter nose.
Mr.
Well-
Britton?
Hey, I'm sorry, I couldn't get my audio to work. What are we tasting right now?
So we're now on bottle number 3 for tasting.
For real?
Yes.
I missed two
We
of
didn't
them.
finish them all, Tom. You're not that far behind.
Y'all are fast drinkers.
Getting like a port or a sherry cask on this one, based on
Yeah.
this that comes through.
By looking
Seems
at
a
the
lot
legs
sweeter.
and all,
Jeff, looking at the legs, what?
by looking at the legs, I would think of more of a wine cask.
Okay, wine cask, port, sherry, I hear.
Definitely smell wine.
Okay, let's give it a little bit of a taste.
Damn.
First impressions.
Wow.
Port cask.
Amazing.
Sweet caramel.
So your port cask, sweet caramel.
To me, it was kind of like thick, like there was consistency.
Sweet to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Ramon, we talked about that last night about that mouthfeel.
Mm-hmm. Is that what that
Where do we
meant?
get the bottle?
uh,
Where do we get the bottle? Is the ultimate question.
so right away you're like, I love it, I want it. Proof. What do we think about proof on this? Is it too high proof? Is it too low? Is it just right?
High 90s, low hundreds, I'd guess.
I don't think so. It sips like it's less than that.
In
So
the
if it's
90s.
that high, if it's that high, then that's a good thing.
I think
Less
it's
than
about,
number
probably about
2.
97 is my guess on the proof.
Marcia?
I said less than number 2. I'm looking at the legs.
Okay.
I learned something last night about the legs.
All right. I want to spend a lot of time with that one. I love this one. This is one of my favorite bottles from this distillery.
Just like the other 2.
All right. Again, I'm moving something a little quick here. Any other comments about this? What about the finish? I think it's got a nice long finish. It's not overpowering. It's pleasant. I don't get a bad burn in my throat. I don't get a really bad rye bite in my throat.
I'm getting a yeast like bread yeast.
I'm getting a leathery
It
finish.
kind of seems consistent throughout all these, so maybe all of them are malt based.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. All right. So let's do bottle number 4.
I feel like it's closing time at a bar. We're just kind of pounding through as many drinks as we can.
Now, keep in mind, please, after we're through with this and we do introduce the distillery, feel free to either go back to one of these and drink as we're talking to the distillery, or as we're talking to this person or persons, maybe they're going to direct us to go back to one of these and spend a little bit more time with it. So you're not just, this wasn't all you're drinking tonight. We're going to go until Zoom shuts us down.
The wheels.
I thought the after party was at your house.
It is at my house. Come on over. All right. So what do we get on the nose on this one?
Super sweet. Almost like a Coca-Cola. Like a Dr. Pepper.
You know what? You're right. I moved my nose from the bottom of my Glencairn to the top of my Glencairn, and I did. I got Coke. I got that sweet caramelly Coke smell.
I get kind of chocolate and cherries.
I like this one. This is my favorite one so far.
Mhm.
That works, Mike.
I taste a little cherry. I
Smooth.
smell cherry.
That one definitely has the most burn out of all of them.
So maybe a higher proof, or is it burn from a rye or something?
I feel
Mm,
like
It's
it's
more-
spicy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more of a rye.
it's
Peppery.
spicier.
Okay. I'm seeing a bunch of head nods kind of agreeing with that. Jeremy, Raymond, Sam, you guys are all kind of agreeing there.
I'm not actually. I
It's
think it
definitely
has a medium burn kind of finish on it. The first one definitely had the longest finish in comparison. Isn't as viscous as Raymond was mentioning, the consistency of it. It's not as viscous, so it kind of evaporates out of your mouth a little quicker. Kind of gets out of there, so the burn isn't there. Definitely get the sweet notes. And
It
it
definitely lingers around. I'm still tasting it in my mouth.
yeah.
And I'm getting a little bit of like peatiness.
But it's not unpleasant. I think it's balanced. I think it fits well with the overall flavor here.
Yeah, not smoky, just super subtle something.
Yeah. And
It's a
trust
little
me,
different than the last one. It's almost like they're similar, but this one is the finish is different on this one. They kind of start off the same, but then finish a lot different.
right. And if there were peat in this, trust me, Tom Britton would be all over this. That young man is eating peat. Yeah, you know you're not going to live that down, right?
No, never.
But I think he's proud.
I would
He
be
should
too.
be.
Do we
Okay,
get to guess what distillery we think this is? Because I think
sure. Who do we think this is?
it's Balcones.
You think it's Balcones?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
A good guess. The crew and
I was leaning that way, but
It's one of the few that has like 20 different bottle selections to choose from.
If it's Balcones, I've never had any of these selections before, so.
All right. So I'm before I introduce them, I will tell you that bottle 3 and 4 are as yet to be released, as yet to be announced. In fact, we are the first to taste these two bottles, bottle 3 and 4. Nobody else has tasted these.
So the important question is, when can we get
bottle 4.
What was that? There's a couple questions there, Raymond.
The important question is, are we going to be able to get access to one of them?
We'll be asking that question here very momentarily.
Question, Raymond.
So I'm hearing overall, we love these two bottles.
3 and 4.
3 and
3.
4.
Very good.
He's my favorite.
My favorite.
Okay, so let's
Great old
find
fashioned.
out. Let's find out who this is. And I kind of apologize. I meant to be going through the flavor wheel here with us while we were tasting these. And I completely forgot to go through the flavor wheel there with you guys. And I forgot to share my screen. So I'm going to share my screen now. And yeah, I'm sorry. I was so excited about trying these bottles out that, it's a miss on our first night. I apologize. Screen 3.
We can start over.
Yeah.
Go ahead
and
and
just refills.
go ahead and pull that away. And you guys are correct. This is, in fact, Balcones that we are working with right now. And I'd like to introduce a couple of my friends from Balcones, Phil Barrel and Barbara Soda. We have Alex Elrod and we have Chris Birch. Actually, I'm sorry. It's not Chris.
No worries. Chris is a great dude.
He is a great dude. Guys, thank you so much for sharing this with us. This is absolutely phenomenal. Bottle 3 and 4. Can we name these? Can we just talk about these two first, or you guys want to go back and talk about the first two bottles? Let's go ahead and go back and talk about the first two bottles. Let's go ahead and do it right. As excited as we are, these first two, we can't escape what they are. The first bottle we tried, for those guys who are taking notes, Brooker, this was the Mirador. And this is a second fill barrel malt. And I think a lot of the notes that are on here, can you guys see my screen okay? You seeing this slide with all the stuff on here? Yep. We picked a lot of these up. We got the apple, we got the pear, we got that fruity, the honeysuckle, that notes of that sugar and sweetness. And I believe someone did say leather. So we picked up a lot of the flavors that are on here. And we got that across the taste as well. Can you guys go ahead and tell us a little bit about this bottle?
Yeah, sure. The photo y'all. So I'm Gabriel. I'm our spirits manager. That's our fancy word for the guy who coordinates all the blending and blends a lot. So
That was the worst, but also most humble introduction to
yeah.
what exactly Mr. Phil Barrel does.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is so much more than that. So
Well,
just
that's
everybody knows.
Very kind of you, Alex.
Yeah. Sorry,
but
go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I just want to point out that the bottle here is actually the first release of Mirador. This is our 10th anniversary release. So the ABV currently of the stuff y'all are drinking is 53.5%. It's of our latest release that we just dropped this year. So our 2021 release. A little on the low end for us for this product. I think this one was, the first one was 54.8. The second one in 2020 was, I think, actually 57 something. And then we went back to a lower proof because we just felt it really melded a lot better with those kind of grain forward, ester, fruit forward character. This one to us, we find exclusively in used Kentucky bourbon casks. So we add our Golden Promise malted barley into used Kentucky bourbon casks, and it kind of does whole maturation in those casks. And then we find the ones that kind of are showcasing grain and showcasing barley and esters and fruit more so than our normal barrel character, because that can get a bit much. So, any questions?
Questions? No. Okay, so honestly, I say this is one of my favorite whiskeys, and guys, I do have the 20 bottle, the bottle from it was March of 20. That this one, it was batch Mir 20-1. So it is a fantastic bottle, and I have always had a Mirador in my collection. So when I say it's one of my favorite bottles from them, I've always had it. I love it. The next bottle that we had, this is a newer bottle from you guys.
Yeah.
Alex, you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah. This and that the Mirador we just tasted, it actually just launched less than a month ago, maybe even less than 3 weeks ago. But Lineage is a really cool whiskey for a couple of reasons. Probably the quickest and easy, most identifiable reasons is because the price point and the proof. As you can see on the label, it's 47% or 94 proof, so definitely on the more approachable side. We still believe that it's very complex, but still very approachable to where it's not so esoteric that it falls into like some like weird, briny characters of like the peated world, or even so light that it's not interesting. But for us, this was our first foray into a year-round single malt whiskey that was at a price point so affordable. So it's roughly $39.99 and available not only in Texas, but we actually have distribution for this outside of the state. But we feel like this is a great way to really call to action a lot of other distilleries as well, but to really put American single malt on the map. So it is a really cool, unique twist. So if anybody's familiar, of course, with Texas One single malt, or of course of the Probst Guild single barrel, that's 100% malted barley from Scotland called Golden Promise, which is the same as Mirador. This is actually a bit of a mix of Texas barley and Scottish barley, which is the first of any kind on the market, which is really cool. And again, a flavor of exploration for not only us, but then for the general consumer. And we love this whiskey. It gets a little more complex than that, and I'll tap in Phil Barrel to kind of expand a little bit on the barrel aspect of things. But starting with the grain, it's again already different than anything else we make. We don't have like a cast strength version of this, at least right now, or any special release variation of it, which we sometimes have with the mix of our whiskeys. But this is easily my favorite whiskey that we make right now because of the kind of the variables that I mentioned: the price, the proof, and then the barley blend, if you will. But Gabe, would you mind touching on a little bit of the barrel character here?
Yeah, if we have time, James, am I good to talk for just a second?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Lineage is a fun one for us. It's a mix of, as Alex said, it's a mix of Golden Promise and also Texas malted barley from two maltsters, Blacklands and Leander, and Tex Malt out of Fort Worth. But the barrels, we also do kind of a spin where it's also a combination of like kind of new world American tradition and old world tradition. So it's a mix of new and used oak. So both of those barley types, the Golden Promise from Scotland and the Texas malted barley, we put into used Kentucky bourbon, our own ex Balcones cask for ex rye, ex single malt, ex bourbon from Balcones, and then as well as a mix of new American, new European, and new French oak, and they all kind of come together. And we have a kind of a recipe that we're using to construct each blend. It ends up being about 60 to 70% used oak, and then about 30% new oak. And yeah, and you know, you have me here, so we may as well not do just the marketing points. But basically, what happened was we had a lot of malt in the warehouse, and we'd been laying down a lot of Texas barley because since 2016 we've been working with the first Texas maltster, Blacklands, to lay down Texas malted barley to make some single malt in Texas. Our passion is we're Texas centric, and we thought, if we can make a single malt that is derived from Texas and is grown in the high plains of Texas, then that'd be awesome. And as the story goes, pretty soon we've got, that was the high plains, what Alex Barbara Soda just held up. That was the first release of a Texas single malt made with Texas malted barley. That was the first crop of Texas malted barley that was made for brewing or distilling. We bought it all from Blacklands, and we made a Texas single malt out of it. But yeah, we laid down a ton of stuff over the years, and pretty soon you end up with a couple, 200, 300, 400 barrels of Texas single malt in the warehouse, and then people start wondering, Gabe, Jared, what are y'all going to do with those barrels? And we're like, get the hell away! Like, we're waiting. We want to see what happens. But we kind of decided that we put a lot of that stuff in a new oak, but quickly realized, man, this stuff just sings in used oak. It's so grassy. It's so fruity. It's kind of like honeydew melon and kind of like some melon flavors, because a lot of the stuff from Tex Malt and Fort Worth is floor malted. So we get some really cool floor malted flavors. And we just wanted to do something, but we couldn't really do it at scale because the industry, it's a young industry, the malting scene in Texas. So our way of kind of stretching it and also showcasing it was linking it with our larger stock of Golden Promise and doing something that was a mix of both. And yeah, for me, it's a highball warrior. I love it in a highball. I love it on its own. I eat it with chocolate all the time. The approachable proof is really where my palate and some of the production staff's palate is going. It's I get off of work and I've been drinking whiskey all day. I don't want something at cask strength. I want something that I can just put in a glass and just relax and not think about, And so that we kind of set out to create that. So yeah, that's that. It's also 3 years. We wanted to make sure that when it goes overseas, it could be considered whiskey anywhere it went, whether it was in the EU or the UK or Australia or the US. So it's 3-year minimum age statement. What goes into it is about 3 to 5, sometimes 3 to 6 years old. It just kind of depends.
So before we move on to the other two bottles, you mentioned something that I'm not sure a lot of people here have thought about. And I know most people who drink whiskeys, if they really think about the grain, they think about, the water and all this stuff. But there's a key component to the flavors that go into this that you, I'll say, glossed over, that maybe can you spend a moment talking about, and that's actually the barrel, and not just the barrel, but the wood and where that barrel came from, the cooperage, the terroir of the tree, and where it's grown. Can you maybe go into a little bit of detail on that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's a mix of a lot of used cask, our own ex Balcones cask, used Kentucky bourbon, and our Balcones casks tend to be American oak predominantly, but also a lot of European and French oak. Those American oak barrels, we know that profile. It's butterscotch, it's bourbon, it's caramel, it's cinnamon, it's vanilla. But those European oak flavors and the French oak flavors, because those trees grow the French oak tends to be in very wet environments, and there's a lot of insect activity and a lot of fungal activity. And so the tree produces a lot more tannin to protect itself from fungal attack and from insect attack. And because of that, the oak ends up being a lot more tannic. And so you get flavors from that French oak that bring kind of a really rich wine finish, big body tannin to it. It's a lot darker, more plum, less apple from American oak and more plum. And the European oak is kind of a mix between the two. It's we get ours from Hungary. It's very nutrient deficient soil. You have trees growing in rocky terrain, and so they tend to grow. There's not as much sun, so they tend to be a little bit more concentrated in their flavors, and they tend to be a little bit scragglier. And because of that, you get a lot more spice notes. So we get some more tannin than American oak, but we also get a lot of eugenol and precursors to cinnamon and clove and nutmeg flavors. And then all that, and then the toast too. We use 12 to 15 different custom toast and char profiles. And so depending if we're doing any of those profiles on an American oak, a French oak, or European oak, we're actually going to set and control different flavors that we're getting out of the woods. So it's a combination of all that with this foundation of this soft, fruity, grainy used oak for Lineage.
And that information, and I know that when we went through our sommelier class, that was something that I had never thought about, the barrel and the wood, and thinking about the concept of that juice breathing in and out of those staves and what it's pulling out of it, and those flavors, and like you put it perfectly, that yes, those American flavors we're getting compared to those European flavors, and how much that influences the juice. It's something I think a lot of people gloss over, but yet in every tasting we've done and on every information sheet on almost every bottle, we see, this is a new American oak barrel. This is a French oak barrel. It's talked about, but nobody really pays attention to that. They pay attention to the grain. And so I love, thank you for sharing that with us and helping to kind of educate us on that.
Yeah, we love that. Thank you for asking.
So before we jump over to bottle 2 and 3 and 4, do you guys have any questions on the Mirador, the Lineage, or anything that you just heard?
On the barrels itself, are y'all starting to do any scraping and recharring yourselves, or are you just using what you have?
Just using what we have. We don't, man, we barely have bandwidth to keep up with our own production. And I'm speaking for Gabe, who oversees blending and our entire warehouse. So yeah, we don't have the we don't have the capabilities to do anything cooperage outside of like basic maintenance and structural integrity things.
I will say that we're fortunate that the oak that we're using is premium. It's 36 months yard age, which is, if you're in Kentucky, that's 6 times the industry average. And most craft distillers are probably using 18 to 24. We go with 36-month yard age. We use extra fine grain oak. We use these deep custom char profiles. Our toasts aren't 10, 15 minutes. They're 4 hours long at different temperatures. They're very customized into very premium wood. Because of that, we set so many compounds. And then because we're in Texas, we can't really put something in there for 7, 8, 10 years, right? So we're putting something in for between 2 and 5 years. And because of that, there's still so much flavor in these barrels. There's still so many compounds to contribute that a second spirit going into these casks can pull out. So really our second use of our new oak ends up reading like, after 3 to 4 years, it ends up reading like a first fill in some other climate. So the only way that I would probably be interested in doing shaving and retoasting or recharring would be if we got some wine casks, because I know that's a little bit of a trick. Sometimes you can get some really yeasty, kind of funky off flavors from a wine cask if you don't scrape out the inside and retoast and rechar it. So I would be interested in doing it for that. But for our own cask, there's no need. The oak's such good quality, we don't really have to.
All right.
Question.
So let's jump over and talk about bottle number 3 and bottle number 4. And just so you guys know, when we got these bottles, no label on them. They didn't have anything on it at all. I take that back. There is a little bit of a label here, so we had an idea what it was. And when we did the pouring out of the sample bottles of this, oh, you know damn well that we tasted this. And unfortunately, I don't have a full bottle, but I got enough left that it's going to be a damn nice night this weekend around the fire pit. I'm going to let, as much as I want to announce the name of this and what it is, I'm going to turn it over, obviously, to our friends from Balcones. Guys, what is this amazing juice?
So I was going to say, is this first one, just so we know, and we didn't confuse ourselves, I was going to say, does this one start with a D?
Yes, it does.
It does.
It is the evening.
Yeah. Okay, so this is DU, not DA?
Yes, this is DU.
Okay, so this is DU. Okay. I will say, look, I don't even have technically a bottle yet because, yeah, it just became into existence a couple days ago.
I'm gonna turn my light on 1 sec. It's getting a little dark. I got the
Alex,
bottles
you're
here. I'll
killing
show
us,
you.
man. Let's get to this. What is it?
Yeah, I want to see what this is.
Well, I'm kind of.
Real quick, can you tell us a little bit more about the?
No. So okay, I'm curious to see if Gabe actually has. So we just bottled this a couple days ago. That's why, again, not that I deserve it any more than you guys. You guys deserve it more than I do. But I don't even have the whiskey yet. Okay, so Gabe actually has labeled whiskey. So
Sorry, I know this light's a little orange. I apologize.
Oh, there it is.
Dust.
They're going to be called Balcones Dusk and then Balcones Dawn. So they are two new special releases. Gabe, can you hold both bottles up?
You want some of this? Is that what you're saying? Sorry.
How about
Gabe,
that?
go ahead and talk. Gabe, I need you to talk so it'll share it'll go to your screen. So Gabe.
Oh yeah, Gabe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me do that.
Yeah.
Here, I'll talk real quick. Okay, here are the bottles. So yeah, Dawn and Dusk.
Those are pretty labels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of like a pink
mauve
vibe. Yeah.
I need a couple signed bottles of that.
Nice.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have an event.
I think that the one thing to point out in again, I know Gabe won't pop up because I'm talking, but Gabe, hold the bottles up again. If anybody's familiar with our whiskeys, most of our labels are a bit darker, a little more brooding, a bit more mysterious, but these bottles are a bit lighter in color, and that's by design. And Gabe should absolutely. Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Hoorah.
Yeah. So we're technically, I think, based on the way James was explaining it, we're trying Dusk first, and then we're trying Dawn. And the perfect person on here to discuss these, because they are very unique and they're very special to us, would be Gabe, because again, Gabe oversees all cask maturation. And so, Gabe, can you expand on exactly what Dusk and Dawn are?
Yeah, no, this is actually really.
This is the first time we've gotten to talk about this.
Yeah, this is the first time we gotten to talk about it, and it's the first like non-blending room person, like the group who's ever talked about it. So to hear your feedback was really good, because I kind of took point on this, and the other day I was sipping them after they came off the bottling line, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, I think I fucked up.
Oh, you did not.
I was like, I had imposter syndrome like big time. But yeah, this was they are. You all said they're wine finished. They are wine finished. We have for a long time, since I started the distillery and before, Jared and his blending partner before me, Zach Pilgrim, who passed away in I think it's in 2019. They were super into Texas estate wines, and specifically Texas dessert wines, estate dessert wines, and they were on a hunt to find something that they felt would really marry well and wasn't going to have flaws and was really just going to be an easy collaboration. And so these are actually collaboration with Hack Winery out south of Houston. And they make estate Texas Madeira. And they are actually grandfathered in. Legally, they can call it Madeira because of their process and because of how long they've been doing it. They're one of like 3 or 4 wineries in the country that can actually say Madeira, and that won't piss off Portugal too much. But so yeah, we traveled down in 2019, we traveled down to Hack, and they gave us 12 of their Madeira casks, and we put Golden Promise that was in used bourbon into these casks. So a very light profile of Golden Promise, like the Mirador profile that we drank. We put those into these casks. And Dusk, I guess number 3, represents the first finish. So we did depending on the cask, we did a finish from about 4 months to a little under a year in like the first use of these Texas Madeira casks. And then Dawn represents, we took all the juice out of those finishing casks and we put new Golden Promise malted barley from used Kentucky bourbon barrels into these casks. And yeah, that's it. So the idea is that I've always wanted to see that. For me, being in cask management and warehouse management, we totally geek out over, oh my God, this is like the 3rd use of these PX barrel. And it's totally different than the first use. It's so soft and esoteric. And like we were blending this and we were pretty disappointed because we had thought we had to make one whiskey and we were combining these 2 finishes. And, eventually after talking it out, we just decided, well, fuck it. We're just going to release 2 and we're just going to show you this is the first use finish and this is the second use finish. So that's the idea. So yeah, Dusk, the 3rd one, kind of, leathery notes of, furniture polish and nuts and dried plums and prunes. And then number 4 there has like clementine peel and varnish and, white blossoms and kind of like a much lighter expression of the wine finish. So that's what they are. And I'm really glad you guys are into them. I was tickled. You guys were talking about how low the proof was, and number 3 is 111, and I think number 4 is 116 proof. So they're big boys, and each of them is 4 years old, at minimum 4 years minimum. They're about 4 to 5 years old is the juice in the casks. But anyways,
all right. So the big question that I'm going to have here is, when and where can we get these?
You take that, Alex.
They will be shipping potentially as early as next week out to distribution. They will be, of course, in Texas. The yield was a little bit lower than we originally anticipated, but it's still going all across Texas. There will be a bit more of a focus on the Houston market, of course, because Hack is in the Houston, South Texas region. There will be some available in Austin, Central Texas, North Texas.
Distillery.
So yeah, that's Gabe should expand a little bit on that, but I think next week.
Yeah, I think I'm actually not going to be there. I'm out of town. But yeah, we have something. Jared is going to be there, our head distiller. And actually, we're bringing the winemaker, Tiffany, up from Hack to come be there as well. And we'll have Hack Madeira there available for pours or to buy bottles, as well as these. I think we have some cocktails paired between the 2 things as well. Yep. And yeah, there's going to be somewhere between 300 and 400 bottles of each at the distillery. And then with another 1,000 bottles of each going to market.
And that's next weekend?
Yeah.
So the 14th and the 15th, I think, is when technically the winemaker will be at the distillery, which is either next Wednesday and Thursday or that general time frame.
Yeah, I think I'm sick that day at work.
Road trip.
There you go.
Are y'all going to be featuring this?
I quit today, so that's cool.
Nice. I like this guy.
Are y'all going to showcase these at the Austin Whiskey Festival on the 17th?
I don't think so, unless like Chris Birch wants to pop up and grab a bottle of each to pour under the table. But yeah, we had to set what we were going to have at the fest like a couple of weeks ago, and these weren't even bottled then. But yeah, you find him on Instagram and tell him to bring a couple bottles to have it.
I know Chris. I've got Chris's direct digits. I'm calling that boy. Hey,
do it.
I need some bottles of this. Absolutely. This is I gotta say it's beyond an honor, guys, to allow our group to be the first taste of this. And I can't thank you enough for that. It is absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite bottles from this distillery. But I mean, you guys can see behind us, we literally have, I think I have almost all of your releases, including I got Brahira and Hechicaros back here. We've got the Rumble, the 10th anniversary Rumble.
Awesome.
You guys have such a lineup of product. And I kind of want to go back over here to our presentation. And while I do that, I want everyone to go ahead and pour out bottle number 5, that small bottle that I gave you guys.
We're just
Pour that out.
Where the hell's
Yeah,
my
pour the whole dang thing. Why not? We're at the end of the evening,
Pour
right?
out the whole thing for the homie.
Real quick, I'm sorry I missed it, guys. What was the proof on both of those? It was 111 on the Dusk, correct? Or what was the
111 and 116.
116.
Yes.
So when I think of Balcones, I think more of your corn
Saturday.
bourbon. So is the malted barley signature for your whiskeys?
I'll let Gabe take that one.
Yeah, I mean, we, our bourbon bills get the same malted barley. So we kind of see ourselves in the Scottish malt whiskey tradition a lot. Almost all of our facility is designed to make malt whiskey. We just happen to have equipment to also be able to do cereal cook, so we can do bourbon and rye and whatnot. But yeah, we kind of see our heart is in single malts. Bourbon keeps the light on, and we're actually very passionate about that as well, and have a few tricks up our sleeves that we're really excited about there. But yeah, very much so. We got into distilling to make Texas single malt. That's the passion. That's the heart. That's the the design of our facility is for that.
Yeah, Jared is he technically like co-president of the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission?
I think he's vice president, but yeah, we were one of the 9 founders of the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, trying to legalize and have a formal recognition at the federal level of the American Single Malt Whiskey.
Right.
Hey, I may have missed it, but did you guys tell the difference or explain the difference in the bottling or the aging or whatever it was between the Dusk and the Dawn?
Yes, we did. You missed it. Go back to sleep.
I was listening.
You were enjoying whiskey. It's okay.
Kenny, bottle number 3 is Dusk. Dusk was a first fill. What?
No, I knew which was which. I just didn't hear the part where y'all explained the difference between Dusk and Dawn.
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
Kenny was here when we actually poured this into the individual bottles and tasted it alongside of us. So I know he enjoys it. So the bottle I just had you guys pour a little bit of, this is the Probst Guild bottle, and this is the Texas Single Malt Whiskey Probst Guild edition. This is a European oak barrel, and like Gabe was talking about the European oak and the flavors on that. This one was aged almost 3 years. It was distilled in September of 17. It was bottled in September of 20. So just about 3 years old. It is definitely a higher proof. It's 65.7. So if you guys do the math on that, you're talking about 130. Yeah, 131. So it's definitely a higher proof. I want to get you guys' opinion on this one.
So this is the Probst Guild barrel pick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll just keep my mouth shut because I was on the team that picked it. So
no, actually, I want your opinion. But yeah, Jeff, Ramon, you guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this bottle. Or not.
Tastes like a passion, like a passion fruit. It's weird. The finish has like a real florally fruity finish.
No, I definitely agree with that. It's a heavy fruit.
It's like a tropical fruit. It's like almost like a mango-y tropical. Am I way the hell off the mark, or am I?
No, if that's what your palate tastes, that's what your palate tastes. And keep in mind, I know, Jeff, you're new to the Probst Guild. One of our 2 mantras, there is no bad bottle except Malort. Other than that, there is no bad bottle.
Haven't had Fishke.
Yeah, it might not fit your palate, but it doesn't mean it's bad. And
I like the
number
higher
2,
proof though.
Yeah,
I'm a
whatever
higher
flavors
drinker.
you pull out of it are your flavors, and you own those, and those flavors work for you.
for being as high proof it is very
Drinks
smooth.
well.
I definitely love the higher proof stuff. And this ranks up there with smoothness for sure.
Right. The finish is great. Nose is good.
I love this bottle. I love the taste. I love the smell. I love all of this.
I agree. I totally agree. Whoever picked this one, I mean, it is fantastic.
All right.
I just
So
want
go ahead.
3, 4, and 5. How the hell do we get these bottles?
All right. So 5, I will tell you right now, there are exactly 29 bottles left of this.
How many people are on this call?
28.
So
27.
you need to go to Moondance Liquor. Moondance Liquor is at the corner of Redbud and Gaddis School Road in the HEB. There is
Next to the
no, right next to HEB. It's not in the HEB. Moondance Liquor. Go there. It's $80 for this bottle. There are 29 of them left. And if you want a signature, you know, I'm happy to sign that bottle as the president, founder of the Probst Guild. This is one of our very first barrel picks we've done, and we're doing it with Balcones, who has been a supporter of our group since day one almost. I really can't say enough about this group. Thank you for enjoying this one, by the way. I know we're getting close on time. I'm not wanting to rush too fast here, but I do want to show you guys a couple things. We're sharing my screen here, and I want to go through a couple of quick slides, and I want to talk about these. And Alex and Gabe obviously jump in at any point. You guys won so many freaking awards across the board with everything you have done that I couldn't even put them all on this slide. I had to stop because I just ran out of room. And before we go too far into some of these awards, Jared Hempstead, let's talk about Mr. Hempstead and the awards that young man has won. What has he won 3 times over?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been shortlisted multiple times. And he was a honorable mention this past year, and then in 2019 he finally won Master Distiller of the Year for the American Master Distiller of the Year at the World Whiskey Awards. Yeah, he's a ninja. He's a whiskey ninja for sure. He's amazing.
That's just I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, when these there are several different large events, and the San Francisco World Spirits Competition is probably one of the bigger ones that a lot of people look at. And I think every year you guys walk away with at least a gold in at least one category, but usually it's double gold or multiple on multiple bottles. Now, Balcones, let's talk a little bit about the history of Balcones and where you guys came from. And as we do that, I'm gonna fast forward through a couple of these slides. One of the ones I put up here was just talking about your lineup. It's incredible. And before you guys talk about this, Gabe and Alex, I wanna make this comment on behalf of the group. We have tasted and we have visited a lot of distilleries around Texas. I think you guys know that about our group is we're more about the education, just introducing people to distilleries. And I want to know and I want to appreciate a distillery before I really bring it to our club and introduce people to it. And one of the things that I've run into numerous times at some distilleries is they try and be a lot at once. And that means that they're mediocre at a lot of things, but they're not stellar at one thing. And it's really hard to be outstanding on a lot of things. And that comes with time, and that comes with experience, and that comes with a stellar crew like you have with Jared. And when you look at your lineup, a lot of people are going to go, wow, they're trying to be everything to everybody, and they're not going to be good at all of it. I think almost everything on the screen has won awards.
Yeah.
How many bottles are missing from this screen? Because that's not.
Well, okay, so we have some bottles over here still, and that doesn't include Shiner, Hechacaris, and Brahira. I have both of those bottles. They're outstanding. So before we really talk about that, by the way, I'm saying all that to say kudos. You guys knocked it out of the park with every bottle you came out with, and you guys cover the entire gambit of whiskey. just on the top line there, we've got blue corn, single malt, bourbon, true blue 100 proof corn, rye, 100% rye, brimstone, which is that Texas oak.
It's Rudy's.
Irresolute.
Liquid.
Yeah, that is Rudy's barbecue in liquid form. If you haven't had it yet, Rumble, the rum cask finish, and then the whole bottom line. You know, you've got rum, you've got peated, you've got weeded, you've got Mirador. You guys cover all of that, but you did it at a level that performed, and it actually worked. And then we come to this slide and we talk about Hechiqueros and Brujera, and I can't say this because I'm not Hispanic and I'm white. You've got the French oak, you know, and it just keeps going. But one thing I want everybody on the screen to pay attention to when you look at this is look at the waxed seals on those bottles and the colors of those waxed seals. And maybe, I don't know if this is a question for Alex or to Gabe, but can you maybe talk to us about when we go to a store and we see a bottle on the shelf, how can we identify something we need to grab other than the Balcones name on it?
I think it's a really great thing to bring up. The easiest way to kind of look at them are, we have the coin or the wax seal across all of our bottles, but if you see something with a black wax seal, like when you look at Baby Blue or Pot Still Bourbon, again, anything with a black wax seal, that's a year-round whiskey, with the exception of Texas One Single Malt, which has always had a red wax seal. And then if you look at in the camera, obviously I'm holding up Lineage. This also now has a red wax seal too. So to kind of link it together with Texas One, those two have red wax seals, but basically anything with a black wax seal is a year-round whiskey for the most part. And then anything with a gold wax seal is going to be a special release or a single barrel. Blue corn bourbon is a little bit different. It does have a blue wax seal. You can see the photo there, or here's a photo. It does have a blue wax seal. Beyond that, and I guess I think, I don't know, Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, Texas Bach is a little bit different. It's more to keep with the theme of the colors, but this was actually, even before Lineage, this was the first outside of Texas One Single Malt had the red wax seal. But yeah,
keep your eyes out for gold. And honestly, sometimes something gets a black wax. Like I'm looking at the Weeded Bourbon bottle there and going like, yeah, that probably got black wax because it was only 2 or 3 barrels worth, and they didn't want to switch out the wax in the hot well because they have to drain the whole wax well of all the black wax and dump it and then top it up with gold wax. So yeah, I'm looking at that one and kind of chuckling. But yeah, for the most part, the gold ones you want to look for. The black ones are year-round releases.
Well, yeah, that's to your point. Here's 10th anniversary, and then here's last year's. It has a gold wax seal.
Yeah. And same thing, I've got the Mirador, I'm sorry, not the Mirador, the Rumble 10th anniversary and the Rumble Standard, and it's the same thing.
It depends.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's cask strength. That's what the difference was. I got cask strength Rumble.
Yeah, and we've actually, so speaking to that, we won't be releasing Rumble Cask Reserve. Again, it's the bottom, third from the left on the bottom row right now. You see Rumble Cask Reserve has transitioned to the single barrel program. So the only cask strength Rumbles will be by way of single barrel selections.
Bam.
Actually, yeah, same with True Blue cask strength. We won't make that anymore. That'll just be in the single barrel program. So, and soon to be some other things potentially, but yeah.
Well, your peated whiskey is really, really good.
Very good.
Coming from somebody that doesn't necessarily like Scotch. I don't prefer it anyway. I really like your peated whiskey. That has a gold seal on it.
Yeah, I just finished a bottle too. Gabe, can you tell us about peated? I love this whiskey too.
Yeah. We're always kicking ourselves for not laying down more. We're always nervous that the market isn't ready for as much peated as we want to do. But yeah, peated, it's actually an honor to even lay down the peat that we lay down. We buy Golden Promise malted barley, fund Balcones Trivia. In the early days, we were buying it from Fawcett, which is there's only Simpsons and Fawcett are the only two entities that can actually make Golden Promise. They kind of like own that varietal. Fawcett is a small family operation. They do floor malting, and we switched to Simpsons when we increased our production scale, and Simpsons doesn't do floor malting, but they do peat Golden Promise, but you have to custom order it. And we are the only distillery that is laying down peated Golden Promise in the world at the moment. I think places did it in the past, back in like the 60s and 70s when Golden Promise was having its heyday. But now we get custom peated runs of Golden Promise from Simpsons. We have to buy the whole malting floor, and that fills up about 3 of our 7,000 gallon fermenters. And yeah, because of that, we get to custom order it. So we get to tell them exactly how much ppm we want, how much peat to use. So the release that we just released, the last peated release was 99 ppm, but the first release was 35. The second release was 65 ppm. And I think we're sticking somewhere between 65 and 99, because 99 was pretty intense.
You just went into some stuff that I think went over a lot of people's heads. So I'm going to pause for half a second. And not because of yeah. So can you maybe transition that to the bread toast analogy? I don't know. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that, Gabe.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Golden Promise, it's a barley varietal, and it was the preeminent barley varietal. It replaced actually a lot of older varietals, Archer, Plumage Archer, way back in like the 20s, 30s, and 40s and 50s. And these grains were super flavorful, but they were not very high yielding. So you might do your mash, and then you might get a wash that was 5, 6, 7% ABV. So eventually they transitioned to Golden Promise. But years later, that was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But eventually they got an even higher yielding grain that came at the cost of reduced flavor and reduced flavor concentration. So yeah, now you can get a really high, you can get a barley that will give you 10.5, 11, 12% ABV of your like distiller's beer. But it's not going to have all the biscuit and richness and all that malty goodness. So yeah, and I guess, yeah, to your point, you're saying the bread to toast, that would be more kilning if you're taking your barley and you're actually kilning it. So heating it up a little bit, and you are kind of starting to caramelize some of the sugars in there and caramelize some of those flavors. But really the peat is more akin to when you malt the grain, you are growing a seedling, and this little seed germinates from the grain because this grain wants to take all the starch stored in there and make a plant and convert it into sugar and make a plant. But if you cook that germination, that tiny little plantlet, then you have a ball of starch with enzymes that are ready to convert those starches into sugars. So there's multiple ways you can do it, but traditionally you just heat up the grain and then you kill the little plant. But in the old days, the Scottish, their most common heat source was peat. So they would take a bunch of peat, dry it out, and they would use that to heat up the grain and to kill that little plant. And when they did that, it infused the barley with this peaty flavor. Now we can just do it in big industrial ovens and big industrial cookers, just raise the temp a little bit with electricity. But back in the good old days, they were actually using peat, and that kind of stuck around as a preeminent flavor. So yeah, that custom order of Golden Promise, the peated order, they are actually killing that little germinated grain with a peat fire.
And technically,
sorry, that was very long-winded. Alex, you got to cut me off, man. Someone
No,
has to be able to mute my microphone.
Well, no, I think you actually didn't even go specific enough on the type of peat, because I think everybody is appropriately most accustomed to kind of Lagavulin, Laphroaig, Ardbeg, which is more in the kind of briny, salty iodine, maybe even a little bit of like, a lot of times people will throw around Band-Aid, which the great descriptors and everything. Our peat actually comes from the Highland area. So this is it's a bit of a different, quite a bit different area. So Gabe, can you expand on the difference there? Because I think that's really important to know the extra level of kind of not exclusivity, but maybe exclusivity on what this peat actually looks like.
That's your that you're getting into the Macallans and the Highland single malt scotches and stuff up there that don't have that Speyside and the lowlands flavors. I'm sorry, Gabe. I'm
No,
speaking
you're
for
great.
you.
No, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, there's coastal peats, and that's just from, you know, how their proximity to a brackish marine environment when they were depositing all that organic matter. And so when you dredge them up, they still have some of that salinity. They still have little, you know, decomposed sea critters in there, and it kind of, and algae and whatnot, and marsh grasses, and it gives that flavor. The Highland stuff is very continental, so it's old shrubs and trees and heather and Scottish grasses. And that gives a little bit more of like a kind of like a smoldering wood flavor to it, as opposed to kind of a briny coastal iodine packed flavor. And yeah, it's been really neat. And I think, I don't quote me on this, but I asked Jared pretty recently, like, why the hell don't we get some Islay peat? You know, that'd be fucking awesome. And I think it's just because where Simpson is located, they're just like, yeah, like there's no options. It's not like, oh yeah, come and pick your 7 different peat options. They're just like, yeah, this is the one we have. We're close to that peat source, so that's what you get. We're in the Highlands. Like
peat bog is, that's all you got to choose from.
Yeah.
It's not like you grow peat. It takes thousands of years.
Right. And they're not going to do that for some, you know, a little American single malt producer. Like, oh yeah, we'll just take a barge over to Islay and just get some custom peat for you. It's like, fuck off, y'all.
That would be awesome though if they did.
That would be pretty cool.
You know,
just for you.
There is so much we have missed on this, and we're at 8 o'clock. I know we took an hour of, and I'm more concerned about the guys from Balcones. I'm more worried about Gabe and Alex than I am about my members. We'll stay on here all night long and talk. I know you guys have worked a full day, and I want to be respectful of your time. So if you guys
we're
need
good
to
for
go,
now.
you're good for
Gabe
now.
will
Okay.
leave when he needs to.
All right. Well, let's run through some of this kind of quickly. And thank you for these slides. This is really talking about grain to glass, and grain to glass, especially in Texas, is very important. And we talk a lot about the Texas grain to glass concepts. And it starts with that malted barley. And we talked about that malting process and how it's made. And Alex, I'm going to let you kind of take this and run with it, but we talked about the roller mill and how we make the, you know, go ahead. I'll shut up.
Well, I think, so the cool thing about these slides is that you can actually, James, if you toggle back and forth, and there might, if you toggle back and forth between the American whiskey slide and the malt whiskey slide, the really unique thing about this, and the reason it's so important to look at this, is that we don't hybridize our processes in the very beginning, where we're looking to handle our grain. And so you're looking at two completely different processes, where we have an American whiskey process with the hammer mill and the cereal cooker, and then the roller mill and the mash tun. So the mash tun is exclusively for malted barley. The cereal cooker is for all other whiskeys. And you can kind of see we have the bottle shots down below, where again, the mash tun is and it's called the malt whiskey process. So everything that is going through the mash tun is more like a coffee filter. Everything in the cereal cooker is going to be more solid based, almost like porridge before fermentation. So after fermentation and then into distillation, they're much more similar processes, but it's important to understand that we're focusing on really high quality grain from really high quality farmers, and then we are mashing, fermenting, and distilling everything on site, and we have since 2008. We've never been one to source, and there's a lot of good people in the world doing good sourced projects, but that's not really our bag, if you will. And it's a really cool it's very easy on the eyes to see this and understand, okay, grain to glass, starting with grain all the way down to consumption, which is number 9. And that's, you know, bottling, and then into our glass, your glass, my glass, our glass.
And just so you guys know, you will receive an email copy of this in a PDF format, so you can print it off and study it. This is probably one of the best explanations of the two that I've seen in a long time. Let's talk about these pictures, because I have actually been privileged to be on the catwalk over the top of this. And when we did the Texas Whiskey Summit a year or so ago.
Yeah. Gabe messes with these more than I ever do.
Yeah, I know I mentioned this earlier and I don't want to, I'm down to stay. I love this, but yeah, if I go on and on, just, shut my mic off or something or boot me. But yeah, we, like I said, we're kind of see ourselves in the Scottish malt whiskey tradition. We kind of got into it to make single malts. So naturally the equipment we were going to buy was going to be like kind of geared towards that. And we worked with Forsyth. You can see on the manway, the brass manway, there's some red lettering that's, it says Forsyth. They're pretty much the premier Scottish still they are the premier Scottish still manufacturer. There's a couple others, but really any distillery worth its salt in Scotland is using Forsyth stills. And that goes, they make stills all over the world, but all the premier malt producers in the world are running Forsyth stills. And there you'll notice it's a pot with a cone on it. So right now we're looking at one of our wash stills. There's another wash still to the left of it. Yeah, that's inside one of them. Yeah, and that's me with my bald spot actually on the spirit stills. On the that photo it's really went widely into circulation. Holy shit!
Nobody is ever concerned about Gabe and anything related to Gabe. They're just focusing on those beautiful copper pot stills.
You're right. I'm so vain.
He always calls himself out.
So
anyways.
Yeah, those two stills are our spirit stills. They're on the other side of the room. And yeah, so we've got two stills kind of paired with each other. We got a wash still paired with a spirit still, and we have 4 stills in total. And yeah, they were made by Forsyth. They're obviously all copper. You can't see it from here, but you saw it in some of the previous slides. They have custom helical line arms. Yeah, you can go back one more to the drawings there. Yeah. So each of our spirit stills that we do our spirit distillations on have custom helical line arms. And this was essentially to mimic the still geometry that we had at our old location. We were moving locations. There's a lot of angst that goes into this. Are we going to be able to make good whiskey? Are we going to be able to make something that's kind of true to our profile? And in order to do this, we wanted to mimic the same distance traveled of our line arm at our old facility. And because our old facility was largely handmade, the condensers were handmade, the line arms were kind of handmade. Because of that, they were super fucking long, longer than they should have been. And so we had to capture that same still geometry. And the only way to naturally do it was to wrap it in a coil so it could fit inside the room. So that's Spirit Still 1. It's got about, 10 turns on its coil and a 6-inch diameter. And then you can see some of the coils for Spirit Still 2. That's got 4 turns at an 8-inch diameter. They both produce different spirits. We tend to run American style products on the one with 10 turns. All that distance traveled, all of that copper means we get a lot of reflux. We get a lot of separation of compounds. We can make a really bright, heady, solventy kind of American style spirit. Whereas we tend to run malt on the second one, a little wider tubes, less reflux, less distance to travel. We're going to get a heavier, meatier, sulfury, richer spirit out of that one.
Nathan has a question. How many gallons are those pots?
So the wash stills can hold 3,200 gallons of wash, and then the spirit stills can hold 2,200 gallons. Our output is about, when we're running both of them, we'll get anywhere from 9 to 11 casks per day per still. So we generate about 18 to 22 casks a day.
All right. So I know we've gone extremely long here, and we're going to stay on as long as we want to, and as long as I've got liquor in these bottles, which is a problem because you can see how many bottles I have. I guess a couple questions. You guys we all just went through this great COVID crisis, and going through this great COVID crisis, everyone shut down. And are you guys opening back up? And I guess to that question and is, when the hell can we do a damn tour?
We get that's the most common question right now. Swear to God.
Yeah. I don't even know how to respond to, I don't know.
Yeah. And honestly, I know it's a loaded question and there is no real answer yet. I will say that having, Karis and I and a couple of other Pro Skill members, Kenny, I think you might have been part of that. We went up there for the Texas Whiskey Summit, and we did get to do the tour. And you guys really need to think about making a trip to Balcones. It's in Waco. It's in the heart of downtown Waco. They bought and took over was it 4 or 5 story, 100+ year old brick building. And it likens back to the old brick rick houses of Kentucky that are multi-leveled. I got to tell you that one of the highlights of, I won't say my career, but my hobby was we walked through there on that tour, and you guys had some specific barrels that you had already picked that we're going to open these and we're going to taste out of these for the people walking through. And then a couple of us went, that's cool. What is that barrel? I want some of that. And to try what you guys are working on in that rick house, to walk up and, hey, there's something dripping out of this barrel. And that was just an experience that I'll never forget. But the beauty, Forsyth makes beautiful stills. And I know of another one locally here that's a Forsyth column still. Their product.
Still Austin, right? They got that. They got that
Nancy,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Beautiful still.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the coils, how you guys have done yours. I think something that speaks to the quality of a product is the quality of the facility. Your facility is clean. Your stills are polished and cleaned. And that detail for those little things, walking through the rick house, it was clean. There weren't cobwebs and dust and things like that. Those details, well, you know, not that I noticed.
We haven't done a lot of tours, man. We've let ourselves go.
Yeah, it's a little bit more weird now. But.
Yeah. I absolutely love Balcones. And Alex, if you don't mind, I want to tell the story of how we actually first came to meet. Do you mind? Do you remember that story?
I mean, I think I do, but please go. No, go ahead.
So this speaks to how much Balcones cares about their image and their brand and everything. The very first Probst Guild event, and this goes back, gosh, 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Maybe 3.
It was a while ago.
3. I think it was 3.
Not even.
It's about 3 years ago.
I don't even think. Years ago.
So here at our bar, we had the first member meetup, and there were 18 people, and everyone brought a bottle, and we had bottles lined around this pool table, and we just did a barrel tasting.
Yeah, go with this. Sorry.
So we all went around the table, and one gentleman, Brad, brought a bottle of Balcones. And we had everything from a Rebecca Creek all the way to a Dalmore 15-year cigar malt and everything in between. And Balcones, and it happened to be a bottle that had just won a double gold at San Francisco that was here. And it was absolutely horrible. It was a bad bottle, and it was a corked bottle. It actually had a bad cork. This happens. And I want you guys to keep this in mind. That happens. There are times where a cork dries out. A cork, it sits on a shelf. It's a bad cork. Things happen. We all were like, "Ugh, Balcones, that's nasty." But we're seeing all the awards it's winning. It's in Whiskey Advocate magazine. Every month I pick up Whiskey Advocate magazine. Balcones is listed in there multiple times with different bottles. So we were thinking, you know, what did we do? What did we taste that was so bad? And one of our members, Alicia, happened to be the administrative assistant for the Texas Whiskey Festival, the Texas Whiskey Trail. Texas Whiskey Trail. And in talking to Chris Birch, you know, it was mentioned that, wow, well, we had a bad bottle. Sure enough, they tasted it. Well, yeah, you have a turn bottle. Here, try this. Chris and Alex came here, and we brought the Probst Guild members that were in that first meeting here back to the house, and they brought the entire line of Balcones here, laid it across our pool table, and we reintroduced ourselves to the line. And not only do we try that bottle again, but we fell in love with it. The dedication they have to making sure that not only is it right, but you have a not only good experience, but an amazing experience, is something that I think is beyond the par for any, not just Texas distillery, but I think national distillery. And we've toured some distilleries in other parts of the country. Their dedication to their brand and to their consumer, I'll say your members, because I feel like we're all part of a club here. It goes beyond the par. And that you guys were willing to go that extra step to say, you had a bad experience, let us make it right. And let us show you what we can do. Prove to me that your product was absolutely spectacular. I can go all night long.
That was a fun night. I think we had like 15 maybe 15 or 20 different bottles, just kind of a myriad of everything. And at least, yeah, because we knew walking in, kind of the scene was set of, hey, this is what we're walking into, but we're all a bunch of open-minded, men and women. We want to learn, but just realize that we had this experience. And Chris and I were just like, well, shoot, so sorry. Let's see what damage we can do. And if it's good damage, then we'll see. Great. And if not, we'll see. And it was a really great eye-opening experience for us too. I think just to be able to hang out with a group of folks that was willing to kind of, wander through the woods with us and stumble upon new things and new ideas. I mean, we literally had everything. We had rye, cast strength rye, rum. We had a couple special releases, things of that, that release. But that was a fun night. And I even knew, like, Chris warned me going into this. He was like, hey, they had a bad experience with Balcones, but they're open-minded, and I think this can be a fun night. I'm like, who the hell knows how this is going to go, but let's hang out. At the end of the day, we're just going to hang out and have fun. And I think it ended up being like way better than fun. And I think for us, that's why when James originally approached me, I don't know, a month or two ago, when he was like, hey, we're going to start this back up. If you want to be a part of this, let me know. And immediately I was like, boom, blah, 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 yes. Like, I want this date, like, yes. And I was like, okay, I've got an opportunity. I, knocked Gabe over the head with a frying pan and was like, I know what we're going to show them for this first tasting. And Gabe harassed me multiple times because I was beating him up, trying to get whiskey earlier than I was supposed to get whiskey. But again, I love this.
Yeah, we pulled your samples like out of like the casking tanks. We were like, oh shit, we got to get juice for Probst Guild, pull it out of the tank. The stuff you got it's not filtered how we do to take the char out. It's not, it's.
Oh no, there's angel poop floating in this.
Oh yeah, it's the real, it's the real deal. So
yeah. These bottles, I'm going to cherish these bottles probably forever. God, I would love to go. I'd love to go a whole nother night with you guys. Before we sign off, I want to give the members a chance to ask questions. So, anybody have any questions for these two gentlemen before we sign off for the night?
I would say I have a cask management question. You lay down spirit and put it in the cask knowing what you want in the end run. This is somewhat loaded, but how often, or do you have any percentage in your head, is how often you taste later on to go, ooh, we're going to move this in this line instead of this line?
That is a great question. First off, don't give us too much credit, okay? Because we got a lot of, you saw there are a lot of bottles, there are a lot of mash bills, there's a lot of shit in the warehouse. But no, I mean, really, the single malt line has been really beautiful. You saw, we actually did this with our American style whiskey line. We got Baby Blue. We checked those now it was 6 months as a minimum age. Now it's 12. And it really, what goes into that is 12 to 48. It's like a year to 4 years old. It kind of just depends. But yeah, we're pulling stuff for Baby Blue, for example, and we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, all these are never going to be Baby Blue. Cool. We'll slate those to look at those for True Blue 100. Then we pull True Blue 100 and we go, cool, we're doing True Blue 100. How do these taste? Well, shit. A lot of these are going to be True Blue cask or single barrels. These smell like roasted bell pepper and smoke. And so we're going to cover that up with the brimstone process. And so, yeah, we kind of like do these individual products. And in doing so, we're able to slice stuff and move stuff around. So that's kind of how it works. So we'll blend Texas 1 single malt, and then we'll look for stuff that could fit for something else. And then we'll look for stuff when we're blending Mirador and Lineage. We kind of like slate stuff to other products, to special releases, to a future Lineage blend, to a future Mirador blend. We have these like metrics in mind of like, this cask is this old, this cask has been used this many times. And we kind of have a ballpark knowledge of like, okay, when we blend this product, we're going to pull them. If anything doesn't fit that product profile, when we do that, we're going to slate it for something else so we don't make it redundant.
Is Minority Report where Tom Cruise like has the gloves and he's like doing the things?
Yes.
Okay, so Gabe, first off, is more handsome than Tom Cruise, but Gabe is doing that on like a daily basis with the warehouse. It's insane. I didn't know that that's how the cask management is just, it's insane.
Well, we reached a point. My background is in oil and gas, is in like data modeling and simulations for the oil and gas industry. And I got out of that because I want to do something way more fun. But yeah, I got to Balcones, and like the warehouse was quickly reaching like just a huge size. And I recognized like we need like a demographic software. We need a software that you would use on a population, not an Excel spreadsheet, because that's not going to cut it. You know, we have, I don't know if I can say, I'll just give the low end. We have 10,000 plus barrels between our 3 warehouses. And so we can't afford to just be going through a Google spreadsheet anymore. So yeah, we do have to break it up and visualize it in these large graphs and these large data chunks that you can move around very easily and manipulate very easily. And so, yeah.
Who do y'all use? Or did you just write your own software?
No, I use Tableau, which is basically, yeah, we take our warehouse from the software we use to actually input all of our production information. I export that, and then we basically convert it into a SQL database and use Tableau to kind of visualize it.
Okay.
So
crazy.
Other questions?
On Dusk and Dawn, did you guys know you nailed it from the beginning, or when you heard everybody's response, were you kind of like, fuck yeah?
I was definitely like, fuck yeah. I was nervous. We were really busy, and I was blending these, and I was kind of beating my head against them and embarrassed because I kept making 2 blends instead of 1. And Jared would check in with me, and I'd be like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think we have to make 2 blends. And then I'd beat my head against it a little more. Alex jumped in and helped me out and helped clarify it. But yeah, I mean, I knew it was good, and I know we're excited about it, but you never really know. And also getting out of the blending room. Usually I'm tasting these after I've been blending a core product. I've been drinking Baby Blue or Pot Still Bourbon or Rye 100 all day. And then I'll do this at 4 p.m. and like, oh my God, my palate's blown out. I hope that, oh man, like this tastes a little funny. I've just been blending Brimstone, and it all tastes like smoke, you know? But yeah, no, I'm really happy, and I'm really pleased and really humbled by y'all's reaction. We have some really great malt releases happening this year. Some really cool light refill peated expression happening in the winter. Some secret stuff coming out hopefully soon that I can't even talk about. Beyond, yeah, even more secret than this. So yeah, we have some really fun malts coming down the road, and I was really honored that you guys liked it so much. It's really encouraging to us.
I mean, Dusk is going to become like a daily drinker. It's amazing.
It's only 1,000 bottles, Jeff. So, you know.
Yeah, snap them up, man. Yeah. I'm setting some aside for me too.
Same.
Well, if James can't get the 14th off, then I'll be up there after I get off work.
Yeah. So one of us will be there on the 14th.
I get off at 3:30
to get a couple of bottles from the distillery there. So, you know, I don't know, Alex or Gabe, if you have
the Venmo.
Yeah, make sure someone can like get a pen and sign a bottle or 2. But we will definitely pick up a couple.
Yeah, Jared and the winemaker are going to be there with the gold Sharpie. So y'all come up and get your bottles, and he'll sign them, and Tiffany will sign them. Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, can we sign our daughter's name on the little ledger?
Mickey Mouse is buying 2 bottles, and
yeah.
Yeah, get your daughter a fake ID. Y'all can do whatever you want. Yeah,
she's 24.
She's 24.
Yeah.
Oh,
but she might not be with me. So
we have a 24-year-old daughter. How lucky! And yeah,
there you go.
Is there a limit to the bottle?
What's that?
Is there going to be a limit to the purchase of the bottle?
Well, at the distillery, you can only buy 2 bottles a month
per Texas driver's license.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's right. Smart man. He knows.
What if you don't have full 2 fingers?
Oh,
you need to stop woodworking.
You only get 1.5 bottles.
I get 1 2/3
bottles.
So I lost my driver's license in Italy, and they mailed it back to me. So I have 2 driver's licenses.
Oh,
yeah. Crazy.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's going to stick around for a little bit, to be honest, y'all. And there'll be plenty in the outer market too. So
now, are you talking like specs, twins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The typical. I mean, there's going to be an allocation based model for the chains, but also the independents. So I'm always going to say support your independents if you've got a good relationship. with someone like Austin Shaker, if you do live in Austin.
Right.
Moon Dance, where the Probst Skill bottle is at.
Moon Dance, also support those folks, good people. There's Oak Liquor Cabinet, the ABC, Chris's. There's a lot of great people in the heart of Austin, but also then in Houston and other places too. So support your independents when you can. But I also understand that there's some other places. So Twin, Specs, Total Wine, they will get an allotment as well.
I got to make a drive.
So
Yes.
Moon Dance and their 5 locations have very, very good pricing.
Yeah, we'll talk to Zahara over there and make sure she's got an allocation. We'll.
I don't know how it works, but yeah, maybe you want to. I'm not a sales guy. Here's the stupid production guy. I know all about cast management. Don't know fuck all about sales, but yeah, I don't know if you can get the ball rolling and get Moon Dance talking about getting some Donna Duskin already.
Yeah, y'all are the first people to hear about this, so.
Yeah, so here's a question for you guys before we wrap this up. One, can we start posting about this, or you guys want us to keep this on the down low for a little bit longer until you make an official announcement? Because after this, I'm going to post a hell of a lot on our social media pages.
Do whatever. It's free world, I think, or something.
Y'all don't have the actual labels, so no one might believe you.
So that was really kind of the question. But what I'm going to ask of our club members now, and this is kind of starting to wrap it up a little bit here. But what I want to ask of you guys is, please support these guys.